All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this virtual candidate forum. This forum is hosted by the Grants Pass and Josephine County Chamber of Commerce. My name is Josie Malloy. I'm the president and CEO for the Chamber of Commerce. I will be asking questions along with Josh Bollock, who is a board member of the Chamber. We also have Kate Lasky on the call. She is our government affairs chair.
Good morning.
Good morning. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with the opening statements. So each candidate will have 3 minutes for the opening statement. We're gonna start by alphabetical order with last name. So Jerry Allen, you will be the first one to go. So the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce. I want to first check and see, can you hear me okay? Is the audio good? Okay, great. I want to thank the Chamber for hosting this event and for my opponents participating. I signed up to run for the Senate because I'm fed up with the partisan bickering and rural Oregon getting shortchanged. But as soon as I signed up to run, the coronavirus hit and the economy came apart, with many thousands of jobs being lost, people losing their livelihood, their health care. I'm very concerned for us and all our friends and neighbors staying safe and finding work and money to live on. So I decided to set aside my usual campaign and focus right now on safety and help in this crisis time. Besides being a fifth-generation farmer, in my career, I was a hospital executive, clinic founder, a social work supervisor, and 4-term elected financial trustee. I'm also a licensed Oregon emergency medical responder, and I'm also an officer in the Fruitdale Grange in Grants Pass and a volunteer in the Josephine County Library. So I'm now drawing on all that experience to publish a campaign newsletter and bring forward some of the best online material I can find to explain how to stay safe, where to get help, things like unemployment, healthcare coverage, help for small businesses. If you want to find that newsletter online, I'm looking up that address here. It will be published regularly on my Jerry Allen for Senate website and will come out in installments on my campaign Facebook page. And you can check that out, and you can also watch my Facebook Live town halls, which will start hopefully within the next few weeks. Please let me know if there are issues and questions you want me to address, and I'll research them and try to bring that information forward in the interest of helping people find information they need to stay safe and to find work.
Great, thank you. And I did forget to mention, when you have 30 seconds left, we will hold up this yellow sign. And then once your time is up, we'll hold up the cell phone. But we will be letting you know, Art Robinson, when your time is up, since you do not have audio. Video, sorry. All right, thank you so much. And now we're moving on to Jordan Lawson.
I appreciate this opportunity and to meet all the other candidates. Let me begin by saying I am honored to be on this forum. I was born and raised in Coos Bay, and I deeply care for the rural communities. I am an advocate for people with disabilities. I have disabilities myself. I have autism, and I am very open about it. I was a council member on the Oregon Council on Developmental Disabilities for 1 term, which is 4 years. Currently, I am the chair of Oregon Self-Advocacy Coalition, and I graduated from Partners in Policy Making in 2016. My campaign issues I'm running on is number 1, Second Amendment rights. I believe that guns and ammo should be deregulated completely, because any regulation is an offense to the Second Amendment. to exposing the corruption in our government. Politicians take money from corporations to work for them and not for the people, when they even know they are hired by us and they need to work for us. Number three, diversity in our government. I believe we need more diversity to properly better serve the people in our government today. We have an abundance of business owners and lawyers. Don't get me wrong. We need them, but we can't properly represent the people when that's all we have. We need people from different areas of our life to see the broader picture.
Great, thank you so much. All right, we will move on to Art Robinson.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. And, as former state chairman of the Republican Party, I find elections a lot of fun because you meet a lot of wonderful people, and we've got some great colleagues here today to talk with, but this virus prevents us from having the fun we should have. Politicians in Salem are working overtime to burden us with higher taxes and more regulations. This inhibits productive work, diminishes our joy in life, and raises prices for everything we buy. Oregon businesses must be free to provide the best products at the lowest prices. And many of their products use natural resources. They've got to be able to use those too. This gives us liberty, freedom, and equal opportunity in our state. But think about the cap and trade. 50 cents a gallon to be added to our fuel costs based on bogus claims of climate change. The claim that rising seas will destroy our cities. The truth is that the ocean has risen 1 foot in the past 2 centuries, isn't increasing, and is not affected by using fuel. My colleagues and I worked successfully to stop this stuff in Washington, and I think we can help stop it in Salem too. There's a lot of lying used to justify high taxes, and this can only be stopped by truth and facts. But to do our best, our young people need great education. Yet Oregon schools are rated almost last in our nation, and the bureaucrats and special interests get more of our school taxes than our teachers. I've had 10 years of college teaching experience at Caltech, the University of California at San Diego, and Stanford, and I've had 25 years of experience in K-12 education. I know how to improve the schools, but of course one senator can't possibly fix this by himself. But I think that working with colleagues in Salem, we can improve things. And finally, as my former colleague just mentioned, there's emergency preparedness. And my coworkers and I, for many years, led our national nuclear civil defense program during the Cold War. And I know that emergency preparedness is entirely about preparing in advance. Yet look at the mess we're in just from one outbreak of disease. Our state was entirely unprepared. And prepared people meet adversity with confidence. This lack of preparedness in Oregon should change. I'm just one common sense conservative Republican. I'm pro-life, pro-Trump, and pro-Second Amendment. I think we need more common sense in government in Salem, and I'd like to help bring it there. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Jolie Wallace.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for letting me introduce myself. I was raised in a really small town in Northern California. I'm a 5th generation farming community. I moved to the Rogue Valley 20 years ago with my husband and 3 young children to Gold Hill with hopes of making Del Rio Vineyard something great. We have worked tirelessly these past 2 decades growing our very successful business. Before moving to Oregon, I was an elementary school teacher. My hopes after moving to Oregon was to return to the classroom, but that didn't happen as our business became our focus. I still had a passion for education and wanted to do something and give back. So I ran for the Central Point School District, the school board in 2009. I believe strongly in public service, and that was a perfect fit. I've been serving on that board now for 10 years. I'm very involved in Rotary, where I've served as the past president. I'm also the president of the Upper Rogue Wine Trail. Being big supporters of agriculture, my husband and I are huge supporters of 4-H and FFA. My four top policy issues are, number one, obviously, is the healthy economy. We need to really support small businesses, cutting taxes, cutting red tape, and encourage investment and innovation. Number two, education. I believe we need to have stable funding and supporting technical and vocational jobs, focusing on best practices and funding education first. Three, healthy forest management. Forest policies in the Pacific Northwest are complex, requiring a vision from both sustainable and responsible management. And number four, agriculture. Agriculture benefits Oregonians throughout the state. Oregon farms, ranches, and food businesses provide jobs and incomes for both rural and urban citizens. I'm fiscally conservative. As a business owner, I believe I am best suited to help our economy get back on track, especially in these very tough times. I'm pro-life, supporter of the Second Amendment to the President, and I live by three core values: integrity, accountability, and perseverance. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, everyone. We are now going to move into the questions, and I'm going to turn it over to Josh to ask the first question.
We're going to start with Jordan on this. And as a member of the Oregon legislature, what would be your three highest priorities?
And you have 2 minutes to answer this one.
First one would be cap and trade, because this bill keeps going and going and going. And if it passes, it will devastate middle to low income families, which will not benefit Oregon, period. My number two is Second Amendment. I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. I love to hunt, and I think when politicians and government goes in to try to control our rights, what is going to stop them from controlling all our rights? And I believe that even a Second Amendment law, or what do you call it? Well, if they make laws on controlling the Second Amendment, controlling guns, it's just going to make it harder for people to get a gun. And it's the Second Amendment. Our fathers fought for this right, and by controlling it is stomping on what they fought for. And number three, diversity. I believe that there is several types of people in this state, and we need more people with like disabilities and poverty. And that's all I got.
Art, you're next. 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm strongly pro-life and pro-Second Amendment. Those things are definitive. It's obvious in each issue that comes up. You can't allow innocent people to be killed at any age, and we need a right to self-defense. Those things are pretty simple and clear. The thing that's wrong, I believe, in Salem is that the politicians, of course, they continually push for higher taxes and more regulations, but they back these things by whatever they think the public will believe rather than the truth. So climate change, as I mentioned, is being backed because people have been made to fear something that isn't going to happen rather than looking at the facts and the issue. As a scientist all my life, I've worked on finding truth about physical principles, physical things about our world. And you can't make progress if you're using the wrong reasoning. Now, I don't think scientists should tell people what to do. I think we should live the way we want. But we shouldn't have politicians changing our lives, raising our taxes, making things harder for us, and always just reaching out for what they think the polls say the people will believe, rather than making their decisions on truth and facts. That's one of the reasons, a particular reason why I think I could be helpful in Salem. We don't have people that think that way there, and I thought that way all my life because of my profession. The most important thing is that every Oregonian have a chance for a good job, live in freedom and liberty, and have equal opportunity. And we can provide that if our politicians will start paying more attention to the truth and less attention to politics. Thank you.
Thank you. Jolie, your three priorities if you are elected to the legislature.
Yeah, I kind of went over them in my opening. I didn't realize that was going to be one of the questions. So again, I can review those. Obviously, number one, as a business owner, I think that we need to have a healthy economy, and supporting small businesses has to be that number one priority. I agree with my opponents. You know, we need to cut regulation, cut red tape. We need to invest in those businesses, especially those ones that are hurting right now, because I think it's going to be really hard for them to come back when we get back to business as usual. My other one is education, supporting, you know, technical jobs, vocational, but we need to make sure and fund education first. We always talk about it, but we don't actually do it. And the last one I think is our forests. We live here in the valley, and obviously we see what happens living here when we have forest fires and their problems, and we need to really start working on that. So I guess those will be my top three.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And finally, Mr. Allen.
Thank you. The top issues that I am concerned about and will bring to Salem are, number one, we have to beat this epidemic that is happening. Now, a lot of people have said, well, it's not going to hurt Oregon. It is here. I have a public health background. I'm going to tell you, I'm talking to epidemiologists all the time. This issue is extremely critical. And what we have to do is practice the social distancing, do the kind of things that they're asking us to do to flatten the curve so that we can make sure that we have enough hospital beds to handle what's happening. Oregon's doing pretty well with that. However, the second key issue is the economy. We have hundreds and hundreds of small businesses that are about to go bankrupt. And they put that stimulus package together in Washington where they said they were going to help small businesses, but there was not nearly enough money to get to the small businesses here. And we face a crisis in our local economy. So I think that fighting that crisis in the local economy is going to be extremely important. We need to relocalize and stop having our economy be run by global banks, and instead be looking at how we can help small businesses to survive here in Oregon, and especially in rural Oregon. And then we need to go from there to rebuild the economy in a good way where we can provide jobs for hundreds and thousands of people.
Thank you.
All right, we are moving on to the next question, and we will start with Art Robinson. What steps would you advocate for the state to take to improve the business climate in Josephine County? And you have 2 minutes.
Well, to get off the backs of our business owners, I have talked to business owners all over the state, and they'll say, what are you going to do for me if I'm elected? And I say, I'm going to get the government off your back, and then you can't stop them from talking. Many business people almost don't enjoy their business because they have to spend so much time on regulations, so much time paying, and so much resources paying taxes. The government is supposed to encourage free enterprise. It's not supposed to tell us what to do all the time and take the resources that we have earned to do it. So the main thing you have to do is get these politicians to understand that taxes and regulations are not the essence of our state, that in freedom is the essence of our state, and they should be passing laws to increase our freedom, to reduce regulations and taxes, just as our president is doing nationwide, If we do those things, free people will do the rest. The government doesn't need to tell us what to do. It certainly doesn't need to run our businesses. And the less government we have and the more we can get these bureaucrats out of the way and these politicians out of the way, the better our businesses will be and the better our lives will be.
Great, thank you. All right, Jolie Wallace.
Yeah, I think that we need to start thinking creatively. We need to incentivize small businesses. We need to have tax credits, reduce regulation, waive permit fees. We need to really start asking agencies and local governments immediately to find ways to cut costs, to defer projects, and do non-essential spending. Eliminating or reducing the cat tax, I think, would be great. But we really need to be thinking out like those small businesses, especially our restaurants and our lodging partners in Jackson and Josephine County, and what we're going to do to get them up and going. And tax credits might be one of those ways to do that. But we need to act now.
All right, great, thank you. All right, moving on to Jerry Allen.
So as I was saying in my earlier response, helping small businesses is incredibly important. Most people in the United States are employed by small business, not the giant corporations. And those giant corporations send all that money to Wall Street. And guess what percentage of that comes back here to our district? 1% at the most. That money goes out and it never comes back. What we can do, the greatest thing that we can do is help incentivize our people to shop locally and regionally, to buy things from local and regional businesses. That will support our businesses to have the money to employ people. We can't employ people if our businesses aren't making money. Now we have a financial crisis that is about to hit, which is a budget crisis. Every state in the union is having to spend a huge amount of money that they don't have, and the revenues are going down because of this crisis that we're in. So we're going to have a crisis to figure that out in Salem. The key questions are going to be, how do we keep the government functioning and at the same time not put that on the backs of the local people and our local businesses by raising taxes on them. This is going to be a very big issue. I'm a Democrat. If I am the senator from this district, I will have a voice at the table, a seat at the table to work on that in Salem. The Republicans will not. They are in a minority. I can get something done to help protect rural businesses and rural people here in Southern Oregon.
Thank you. All right, Jordan Lawson.
Like Art Robinson said, I think getting the government off our backs is a smart thing to do, because the government doesn't need to be prying in everything we do. Tax credits, we need to offer incentives for hiring people with disabilities, and incentives in tax breaks, and trying to promote keeping people going to our local businesses before shopping online or at China or wherever.
All right, thank you so much.
So we're going to change it up just a little bit here, and we're going to go to 1-minute responses for the remainder of our questions. We have 7 more questions, and I believe we're starting with Jolie this time. And this would be, what steps would you be advocating to address the fallout from the COVID-19 crisis?
Okay, I didn't. All I heard was COVID. You cut out in the beginning. What steps would I? That's all
All
right.
What steps would you be advocating to address the fallout from COVID-19?
Well, I think, first of all, I think the main one is that we have to figure out the fallout's going to be our economy. And we really need to focus on how we're going to get up and running. We need to, first of all, go. I believe that we need to start going by region. We don't live in Portland, right? In Jackson, Josephine County, we haven't had cases of COVID-19 in days, and there are people that are desperately wanting to get back to work. We need to start focusing on those areas and getting them opened, because I think that's going to be the key of getting past this. After that, we really need to focus on our testing and making sure, at it and where's it, and make sure that we're safely getting back in the communities.
Perfect. Thank you. Jerry.
Yes, this getting past the COVID-19 virus. We got to open up the economy, but in order to do it, we have to do it safely. As she just said, we have to have enough testing. There is nowhere near enough testing right now to be able to isolate the people who are positive to that virus so that the rest of the people can be safe to go back to work. So we have to have testing, we have to have the equipment, the personal protective equipment, the swabs, all of the reagents, all the things that are going to be required. They are in short supply. So we have got to have that in order to safely reopen our economy.
Jordan.
First off, we need to expand our testing massively to be able to open up our economy safely so we don't keep spreading. And then we need to open our economy and forgive small businesses loans debts during this time.
Okay. And Art.
We need freedom. Our country has faced challenges far worse than this, and we've shown over and over that the confidence placed in us by our founding fathers was right. Free people will spring back immediately. I'm a biochemist. I understand all of these things about the virus and that we need to be safe, and of course, we have to return freedom as expeditiously as possible. But the main thing is to realize that if we get this thing out of the way, the American people will come back. They don't need any help from government. They're free people. They'll come back just like they always have before in every crisis in history.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, moving on to the fourth question. And you'll have a minute for this, and we will start with Jerry Allen. Are there any bills or ideas that you would support to help incentivize or develop workforce housing in our county?
Will you say that one more time, please?
Yes. Are there any bills or ideas that you would support to help incentivize or develop workforce housing in our county?
Yes. I do not know the name of the bill that was put out for this, but I will tell you what the background is of what the bill I would introduce would look like. We need affordable housing. We need to work with the chambers of commerce and local developers and others to figure out where we can build. We have a housing crisis here in this district. There's not enough housing. It's too costly for the people who are families to be able to. We need to develop that in partnership and figure out what are our business leaders telling us that we need to do to help them get that housing built, and where can we build it in ways that don't encroach on the forests so that we don't end up with another firefight trying to save houses that are built too close to the forests.
All right, great, thank you. Jordan Lawson.
We definitely are in the midst of a housing crisis. I know we need to work with real estate people to build more housing to ease the housing crisis, maybe lower rent, and add additional helping for people that can't afford it. I know people with disabilities are being forced to move into foster care because they can't afford the housing here in Josephine County.
Great, thank you. Art Robinson.
Well, we need to pass legislation in Salem to get the state government off the backs of our forestry industry, so that we can have our industry back and progress. But mainly, we just have to get the taxes and regulations off the backs of our businesses. If we do that, as I said before, free people will do the rest. We just have to stop and pass legislation to stop this thing that keeps coming down from Salem and stopping our free people from doing a good job.
All right, thank you. All right, Jolie Wallace.
Yeah, so I fully agree that we have a huge shortage of houses, and we have this housing shortage and people are suffering. We need to do a variety of things, including when we get our businesses going. We need to get the whole economy, in my opinion. If it's a healthy economy, we see people thrive and we can go forward. I think making sure that we don't have transfer taxes on real estate is important. But doing all those things together will ensure that, getting our forests and our timber industry back and going, that's what our basis of our state was built on. And I think that that's one way that we can succeed and come out of this, and housing will be part of that.
Great, thank you.
Roger?
Yeah.
Okay. This question is for Jordan. What is your position on the bill known as cap and trade, otherwise known as SB 1530 from 2020?
My opinion is that it's a disaster. It's not good, and it would harm everyone, middle class, low class. And if I'm elected, I would work to push it away and forget about it.
Okay. Art.
This is a bad bill based on bogus claims. My colleagues and I got 31,000 American scientists and engineers to sign a petition saying that the basis for this bill, the climate change thing, is bogus. It's bad science. It's ridiculous, and the bill, which is based on it, is just crazy. It has to be stopped, and it can be stopped with the truth about the science.
Jolie.
Yeah, this is just, I agree with everyone. This is just basically another tax that's going to make our energy costs go up, especially in rural Oregon. We can't waste any more time on policies that have been shown not to work. This is just very divisive, and I think that we need to stop it at all costs.
And finally, Jerry.
The climate crisis is real. I looked it up on the NASA website. 97% of the scientists in that field agree on that. The military is already taking it into their planning as a real threat. Whether it's human caused or not, it's up to us to stop it. Our children and grandchildren are counting on us to step up to the plate on this. And this is not just something that's way out in the future. The hotter ground temperatures right now are causing more wildfires every year. But we have an opportunity. We can fix that by creating thousands of new good-paying jobs in green energy here in Josephine, Douglas, and Jackson counties. Build jobs, stop fires, save our grandchildren. I call that a triple win. With cap and trade, cap and invest, what do you want to call it, we have some things that we have to do there to cut carbon emissions. As a senator, I will work to mitigate the effects on working families and bring jobs to our region at the same time. I'll be a voice for rural Oregon in Salem with the Democrats who control the legislature.
All right, moving on to the next question, and we're going to start with Art Robinson for this one. What would you do to prevent more increases in taxes that impact businesses in our communities?
I just stop raising taxes and lower them. The most of what happens in these things in our government and in our state government is you have a cause, you have something worth doing, and you create a system for helping it. And then gradually it changes. The cause starts to be just a reason to have more bureaucracy and more regulations and so forth. These things just seem to grow until the cause is forgotten, and it's just more taxes, and keep claiming that the cause is where the taxes are going instead of going to they're going to bureaucrats and special interests. You just have to oppose taxes that do not go directly to the cause that they are intended for. And right now, about 2/3 of our taxes go for extraneous things.
All right, thank you. Jolie Wallace.
Yeah, I think that we have been taxed and taxed and taxed out. We have to put a stop to this. We can't solve every problem just by throwing money at it and creating jobs that are not based on the problem we're trying to solve. And so if we do this, it's just making this vicious cycle that it's not going to end. And so we have to oppose a lot of these taxes and regulations that have been set forth, because it's not a way to make a healthy economy, because businesses are the root and the basis of this foundation, and they're the ones paying these taxes, and they can't survive.
Great, thank you. Jerry Allen.
Well, nobody likes to pay more taxes, and I oppose unnecessary raising of taxes. Now, when considering increasing taxes, I will, as a senator, ask these questions. Are we giving the people the best value for the dollar on this tax? Is it necessary? What will be the good that is done with the tax? Is this the right way to accomplish that good? And importantly, will rural Oregon get its fair share of the benefit of that tax? Because a lot of the time, taxes are put in and most of the money goes to Portland, and we don't see the benefits of it here in Southern Oregon. So we need to be mindful of being careful with the people's money.
Great, thank you. Jordan Lawson.
First off, taxes on small businesses is a huge burden and can even sometimes run them into the ground. What I would propose is to lower taxes with incentives. The more small businesses hire locally, the lower their taxes will go.
All right, great, thank you.
Okay. This question, we're going to start with Jolie. What do you believe should be the key funding investment for this from the state of Oregon that should be made in Southern Oregon?
The key funding investment?
Yes.
I think that we need to invest in our timber industry, what we were based on in our state. We need to put our loggers back to work, building roads, forest management. I think it's going to help the overall with fire prevention. And that's what the basis of our economy was built on. And I think that's the way we can get back.
Okay. Jerry.
Because we're in this crisis right now, there is not going to be a lot more that the state of Oregon is going to fund, because there is a budget crisis that is about to hit in Salem that is huge. One of the most important things we can do is get the federal government to help the states to lift that burden off so that we don't have to have more taxes coming down on the heads of the people here in our local area. But one of the key things, I agree with what she just said, we have to address fire. Now, fire is a big issue here. We need more preparedness. I'm part of the Illinois Valley Fire District through the CERT program. We need to have more emphasis on preparedness. The U.S. Forest Service is not hiring enough tanker planes, helicopters, and all of the equipment that is needed to be ready for this summer, for the next fire. That is an absolutely crucial priority.
And Jordan.
I think I already went.
Oh, no,
Okay.
this is the next question. This is what would be your key funding investment that you would advocate for setting?
Definitely the fires. I think we need to definitely start funding people to work to prevent fires, watering down trees during high risk fire season.
Okay. And finally, Art.
Well, I think trying to improve our major industry, the lumber industry, is right. We need to get our people back in the forest doing our work and doing the industry and the jobs they want to do. As far as investing in it from Salem, what we need, that investment should come from free enterprise. Salem should stop taking our money and let that money stay in Southern Oregon and stop making regulations to prevent our forest industry from managing our forests and preventing these fires.
All right, thank you.
All right, on to the next question. In this very divisive political climate, what are your thoughts on how to best work with members of the other party? And we're going to start with Jerry Allen, and you have a minute.
Well, you got it right. There's a divisive situation. And we can have slugfests all day long in Salem and nothing gets done for the people. So the Democrats are a majority party by quite a bit. The fact is, in order to work together, we have to look at what is the common good. We have more in common than we have that separates us. We need to focus on the local economy and relocalizing. Between $2 and $4 billion a year leaves our district to go to Washington and to Wall Street. We need to relocalize in order to have the economy be something that is actually going to work for the people here and employ them. Local employment is what is going to rebuild our economy.
Great, thank you. All right, Jordan Lawson.
I would definitely work with each other to pass bills that would help our economy. There's too much in Salem, people not willing to work with each other, which ultimately harms the constituents. So I would try to work with each side, give our 2 cents, and to work for the common good of the people.
Great, thank you. All right, Art Robinson.
Well, in each issue, take education. I'm sure Jolie and I have almost the same position. We want to improve education. The Republicans on this call have made strong statements about various issues, but when you get to Salem, you have to study the issues very carefully and decide what's politically possible. In other words, you would like to fix the whole system, you can't. So before you take each action, you have to study, oftentimes for several months, to find out how you can tweak the system to make it better, rather than thinking that you can actually fix it all as the political rhetoric goes. So I think you have to be very careful. And each thing you propose, you don't have to compromise your principles, but each thing you propose needs to be carefully designed so that it's politically possible.
Great, thank you. Right, Jolie Wallace.
Yeah, I think that this is not the time to work together. I think that we need to stay away from things that have been very controversial and unpopular programs like cap and trade, new gun laws, new business taxes. We really need to focus on both sides on getting this economy back and up and running. We need to focus not just what it's going to be like in Portland, but down here in Southern Oregon. And I think that when people also think about working together, we just have to be great listeners. We have to keep our doors open, and we have to think about what is best for all the people in Oregon. And that has to be our main focus for everyone.
Thank you.
And this is the last question. And as a legislator, what specific steps would you take to reduce wildfires and smoke in our county? And this question will start with Jordan. You're on mute.
First off, I would start taking out old trees, old dead trees to prevent the spread of wildfire. And I would allocate more funding to the firefighters who risk their life every day during the fire season to help keep our county safe, Oregon safe.
Art.
Well, I would get out of the way of our lumber industry so that it can return to the forests and manage them properly. The only people with enough resources to manage our forests and diminish fires is our lumber industry. We've got to get out of the way of that industry so that it can do its job. And of course, we have to have good firefighting capabilities for the fires that inevitably will come. But they don't need to be as bad as they are. And the main reason is that we kick the people who manage the forest out of the forest.
Jolie?
Yeah, I agree. We need to put the loggers back to work, building roads, managing the forests. After the fires, we need to be able to get back in there and do some salvage that burnt wood, doing salvage logging. We need to put money into prevention, reduce vegetation, those low burning fuels, and maybe turn them into a renewable energy source. And then I also believe we need to do some control burns.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Allen?
I believe, as a person who lives in a home where I split and cut wood to heat our home, I believe in logging. But I think we have to be careful here, because what the history here has been that when we log old growth forests and then we replant Douglas fir plantations, those are very prone to fire. We need to be really smart about this. And that means we need to be careful to deal with the fires that we have by making sure the logging roads are clear, making sure that we do controlled burns in the cool weather season to try to reduce the danger of fires starting. We need to make sure that we're not building further and further out into the forests, and we need to help the loggers take out the dead, dying, and diseased trees so there can be jobs for a long time to come, rather than cut it all down and then no jobs for 50 years.
All right. So those are all of our questions, and now we're going to move into closing statements. Each candidate will have 3 minutes, and we're going to start with Art Robinson.
Thank you. And thanks for this opportunity to talk with you today. Our founding fathers created a constitutional republic. And in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, they protected certain very important basic human rights. But the other thing they did was to leave almost all of the functional government to the states. We don't have to fix the problems in other states, and we have control of our state. And if we manage our state properly, the people of Oregon can have wonderful lives. But we see mismanagement of our state by our state government, by politicians. You know, the system that was supposed to work, what the founders had in mind, was that citizen volunteers would serve briefly as a public service in various aspects of government in order to keep our country on track and follow the rules laid down by our founders. Instead, today we have career politicians, and not just in Washington, where Salem is full of them. Politicians, lobbyists, special interests, it's all over our state. And we need to get these people out of the way and let our state function in freedom. And we also need to realize that it's our state. The founders of the federal government left the job of organizing Oregon, of each state, up to us. We don't have to fix the other states, we have to fix ours. And the main reason that we're having trouble is we have too much government run by too many career politicians in Salem. And I'm pleased to see that none of the people running for office, on this call today are career politicians. That's a good start.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to Jolie Wallace.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity today. As your next state senator, I don't want to waste time working on highly partisan and controversial, unproven programs like cap and trade, new gun laws, new business taxes, and mandates on businesses. We need to focus on getting Oregon back to work, not just in Portland, but all of Oregon. Like I've said before, we need to focus on fixing Oregon statewide. We need to work across party lines, getting Oregon, its economy up and running again, listening to business leaders and business owners who have risked their life savings to creating jobs and opportunities for the people in our community. I promise to work tirelessly for the values of Southern Oregon. I'm not an expert in all areas, but I'm willing to find people and listen to them. As your next state senator, I promise to work in Salem as I do in my own business, with my door open. I am humbly asking for the voters of Senate District 2 for their vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, Jerry Allen.
Okay, so first thing off, I want to thank the Chamber for holding this event, and I'm going to take a vow. I, Jerry Allen, vow that in everything related to running for office or holding office, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. We're in the greatest crisis in our lifetimes. Now is the time to step up to that, working together to save lives and protect our families, both in terms of fighting the coronavirus and in fighting this economic crisis. In a Senate, we have to work not as partisans, as some of my other opponents have said, but as colleagues, to fight for Oregon to get the help it needs and to fight for rural Oregon to get its fair share. Our families are at risk. Our first responders, our healthcare providers, our struggling small businesses, and our children all depend on us. This is going to be a long fight, but we can win it, and we can rebuild better than before by emphasizing a local, regional economy, not beholden to faraway banks, global banks. They don't care about us. If we can help people to learn to shop locally and invest locally, we can keep the money cycling here in our communities, producing stronger local businesses, more jobs, and better opportunities for our people. We can emphasize the kind of training programs to give our young people preparedness to take those new jobs that are coming. We're going to have a lot of jobs in our future. We got to have our young people be ready for them. We also need to build an emergency preparedness capacity that doesn't leave us flat-footed when we reach the next crisis. I have the training and the experience to help do that as a senator. I've worked across the party lines with Democrats and Republicans as a chairman of the board of a pension trustee system. I learned how to do that. I can work with people who are of different parties than me to find common interests, common goals that we can achieve to help the people. As your senator, I'll have a voice at the table where decisions are made. I ask you for your support and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Jordan Lawson.
First off, I want to say thank you for this opportunity. I'm very humbled by it. And as your next state senator, I will work 24/7, day and night for you, for the people, to help bring jobs back to our community, stop the coronavirus, and to better our Oregon rural communities. I have leadership skills as proven as 4 years on the governor-appointed Oregon Council on Developmental Disabilities and as chair of OSAC. I have proven to be a leader to those with people with disabilities, and I am out to show people that even people with disabilities can do anything if you put your mind to it. I am asking for your vote to make a stand against big government, big corporations, and to help our rural communities.
Great. Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate you participating today.
Thank you.
Being flexible with us as we adapt to these unknown circumstances.
And thank you so much for being willing to stand up and try to represent our community. It's always hard to run for office, and we really do appreciate it. So thank you from the chamber.
Thank you.
And I'll send out this recording to each of you, and it will be on our website, Facebook, and YouTube channel as well. So thank you again.
Awesome. Have a great day.
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.